Hello everyone, welcome into tonight's mayoral town hall here in the Orr Hyundai Studios. I'm Mark Freeman and I am joined tonight. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Mayor Horton and Richard Harris running for mayor of Russellville, and we are going to here shortly visit with both of them. We appreciate them coming in tonight, even though both are under the weather because of this weather change and all this the sickness that's going around. We appreciate them fighting through it tonight. We're going to be brief, we're going to be short and sweet, but we're also going to hopefully give you some things that can help you as early voting starts tomorrow and the election day being next Tuesday. We want to give you some positives, some things, the positive sides of both of these candidates, and we want to look at the future. We want to look at the visions that each of them have for the city of Russellville and why they feel they'd be the best selection for mayor. So we wanted to keep this as positive as we possibly could, and just to get a little bit of information for those of you who are hopping on right now. And again, thank you for joining us tonight on Facebook, River Valley Now. But we wanted to get a little bit of information about each of the candidates, and we'll start with opening remarks from Mayor Randy Horton. How are you, Mayor Horton?
We'll see if we make it through this. This bronchitis stuff, it's the first time I've ever had it. This is fun to get to deal with, but I appreciate you guys giving us this opportunity to come visit with the people again, and thank you. Thanks to River Valley Now and for all the people that are tuning in. You want me to go ahead and
tell us a little bit about yourself? Yes, sir.
Well, I'm Randy Horton. I am the mayor of Russellville. I did 4 years on the city council, and then was fortunate enough to be elected in 2000 and took office in 2015. I'm a certified municipal official by the Municipal League. That means I've had their required training courses in planning and development, in government finance and HR matters, and then you have 20 or so hours in just other different fields. It can be anything from economic development to new trends in streets and transportation and mobility and ADA compliance. It's a pretty full range training session, and then you're required to do continuing education every year.
So, Mr. Harris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Richard Harris, living in the community for approximately 34 years, retired from Entergy after about 32 years of service, and still working as a consultant in the nuclear industry. Served on the council for four years, and enjoyed my time, but I don't believe in career politicians, so at the end of 4 years I decided that I would step away and go back and just focus on my career in the private sector. But basically I'm running for mayor, and I've stated this before, for me it's really to provide the citizens of Russellville an option in the direction that we want the city to go forward. We need to think about, we've had the biggest issue, I guess, that's been on everybody's mind over the last several months has been the casinos. And are they coming, and is the amendment going to pass? And that's kind of been settled to a large extent, at least on the statewide level. It hasn't been settled in Pope County at this point, so we have to deal with that. But I want to give the citizens of Pope County an option in the direction that we want the city to go. I've stood firmly against the casino. I still believe that the casino is not the right thing for Russellville, and we can let the voters decide, given Randy's experience over the last 4 years, or given a new direction that I want to take the community.
Well, I want to start with the first question for you, Mr. Harris, but I do want to follow up and kind of make this a two-part question. Then you mentioned you don't believe in career politicians. Is this something that, as a mayor, you would only want to serve one term or a limited amount of time as a mayor? Or and then second part, why do you feel you're the best candidate for the mayor? Yeah,
well, whether I serve more than one term will really largely depend on what the voters think after 4 years if I'm elected mayor. I think it depends on where I am. If I'm making progress in the community and I think we're on a direction and a path that's worth carrying forward for another 4 years, and the citizens agree, then I might be willing to consider another 4 years. But if I'm not being effective, then you need to step aside and let someone come in maybe and try their hand at it. Maybe someone who's maybe got a different perspective and a different style. I don't think that'll be the case. I think the direction that I want to go with the community is the direction the community wants to go, and I think that at the end of 4 years it will be moving in the right direction. What I want to see the community do in the next 4 years is to work a strategic plan and where we want to be in 10 years from now. I've stated from the get-go of my campaign that I wanted to develop a 10-year strategic plan for our community. You know, my son sent me something the other day. He lives in Vegas, and he sent me something the other day about smart cities. And there's not, in Arkansas, that's no one's doing that right now. But, you know, developing your community for the electronic age might be a niche that Russellville wants to take going forward. I'm not saying that's the option, but it's an option. And I want to investigate, I want to evaluate those type of things and find out what Russellville's good at, where we think we want to be, and then start moving that direction.
Mayor Horton, same question for you. Why do you feel you're the best candidate to continue serving as mayor?
Well, because of what we have done and we are doing, and you know, I've heard that Mr. Harris is developing a 10-year plan. We've been working on one for 2 years. This is the draft copy. It's 25 pages long. This was put out by the Arkansas Valley Alliance, and we've worked real close on this. We've traveled a lot of miles together, been to literally hundreds of workshops and training sessions, and got the best input from the best advisors you can get, from the Arkansas Economic Development Commission all the way down. This is a real plan. It's got objectives. It's got steps to get there. I really think you'll see it. It's been submitted to Arkansas Economic Development for their blessing, and I think you'll see it recommended probably early next week.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's my working with these other groups and the connection with them. I know none of us really like a career politician that just sits there and is just marking off time on the calendar, but I think I'm a professional mayor, not a career mayor. That's what the getting certified was all about. That's what working with all of these other entities is all about. And, you know, I'm pretty proud of what things we have been able to change and how we have been able to move.
The second question, we'll start with you, Mayor Horton. If elected, how will you represent the citizens of Russellville?
Well, yeah, I'm proud that Richard brought up the casino question, because I've taken a lot of beating on that, and I think a lot of it is what's the term they throw around these days? Fake news. There's been a lot of stuff put out on social media, which everybody knows how that thing works. You can say anything you want to say. What I said all along was it was the people's vote, and I'm kind of required to do that. Is it written in the law? No, but this came up 3 or 4 years ago on a separate issue, that when the people petition to have their voice heard, the city should not take a position one way or the other. We can educate, we can inform, but we shouldn't take one side or the other. And I've been pretty firm on that, you've got to admit. The people have spoken. As far as I'm concerned, the decision for Pope County has been made. It was reported in the media widely. I committed to the people that as long as I'm mayor, if they vote no, if they don't get a majority vote for casinos in Pope County, I'll never write the letter of support. And I'm going to stick to that commitment.
Mr. Harris, if elected, how will you represent the citizens of Russellville?
Well, to me, it's about leadership. It's about taking a stand on issues that are important to the citizens of Russellville. The citizens have a choice. The citizens have a say, and that's what the election's all about. But you know, leadership is standing up and taking a position, even though it may be unpopular. I want the citizens of Russellville to know where I stand on those significant issues that really affect our community. They may not agree with me, and that's fine, but at least they'll know where I stand. And they can make a determination from there whether I'll be an effective mayor or not. But, you know, I think in terms of, you know, the officials like the White County judge who stood up for his community and said, we don't want the casino here. You know, I respect and admire an official that'll stand up and take their position, even though it may or may not be popular. And we get angry at those guys because they don't stand for what we believe in. But you have to respect that they stand for a position. You know, one of the things that is bothersome to me, you know, when we go back and look at the Arbors issue, where the citizens did petition to put that issue on the ballot, but then the current administration did send out and took a position in opposition of the citizens of Russellville in that particular case. And so I'm not sure that, why can you take a position in the arbors, but you can't take a position on the casino? So that's one of the things that I think the citizens of Russellville just deserve leadership that's going to tell you where they stand, and then you can decide there whether you want to keep those people in office or not.
There are obviously more issues than just the casino issue that you guys will, one of you is going to have to address as soon as you resume or take office. What are some of the current issues that you would like to immediately address?
Well, the first thing that I would do if elected mayor is I would get the council together and set up our goals for 2019. I'd like to know, once we hit January 1 and everyone's in office, what we're going to try to accomplish in 2019. It's all about, to me, it's all about strategy. It's all about setting goals. It's all about working the plan. And if we know before we hit January 1 kind of what we want to do in 2019, we get a head start on that, right? And then, as I stated, once that's done and we get moving forward, I want to start working on this 10-year plan that I keep talking about. I want to get the right people together to talk about that and work in conjunction with the alliance. I've visited with Paul Harville several times, and I respect him and I respect what he's doing. But Russellville has to take ownership for themselves, and we need to move in that direction. So that's one of the things I would do. Now, I think the casino issue is still kind of up in the air in relation to the legalities and how that's going to pan out. So if that starts moving forward, that may be a detractor. But otherwise, my plan is to establish goals for 2019 and then also start working on the 10-year plan.
Mayor Horton, what are some of the current issues that you would like to immediately address?
It sounds like the casino issue is the only issue out there, isn't it? The way Mr. Harris looks at it. I want to go back to the Arbors deal. I defended what the City Council and the Planning Commission voted. The city didn't send out any mailers. I made a public comment on what the city voted. That's a different issue. Nobody's mentioned the fact that I never said one way or the other on minimum wage, on the term limits, or on any independent candidate for any of the offices. Those were all put on by petition of the people, and I applied the same rule of ethics to those that I did on the other one. It's a matter of integrity. If the White County judge wants to do something, that's their problem. I hardly ever go through White County. It really doesn't affect me. I have to do what I can live with when I look in the mirror 20 years from now. As far as these plans, we've got we helped develop a master plan for El Paso with Arkansas Tech, helped develop their campus master plan. We've got a plan for Main Street. Hopefully we're within a month or two of having our new strategic plan to help guide our development. Our old one is 19 years old, I think, and we needed to update our plan on how to develop. And in this plan with the Alliance for Economic Development, to insinuate or to suggest that we don't have plans and we don't look toward the future, we do it every day. We do it with our 5-year plan for our streets and drainage, and how to best maximize the limited dollars we get to get all of the infrastructure development that we can out of the few dollars that we've got. Trying to get the final analysis from the Corps of Engineers on the Prairie Creek plan. Fixes one of the biggest flooding problems this community's got and has had for years and years. That one's a little slow developing, but if you've dealt with the Corps, they have their procedures you have to jump through. So we've got long-range plans, not react to the latest complaint of the minute thing, and we try to stick to them, and I think we're having success on all of them.
Mayor Horton, we'll stick with you for this next question. You obviously have both had experience in this realm, but how well and how do you feel you'll work with the City Council, the county, and the state to implement you guys' plan, your vision?
Well, I think we work pretty well with the City Council. It gets a lot of play in the media when we have something that we don't all agree on, but those are by far the minority. Most of the things that come before us to deal with, it's pretty clear what the right answer for the community at large is, and I think for the most part we all get on board with it and try to move it forward. Now, to say that all 9 of us always agree, I mean, if that happens, then 8 of us are unnecessary, right? And so there's going to be some back and forth and sometimes there's a certain amount of friction. Most of us are pretty type A. But as far as with the county and the state, with AEDC, with a lot of other partners we deal with, like the West Central Planning District. I'm on their Economic Development Advising Committee. They're the company that handles most of our grants, especially the Economic Development Administration grants, which is where the $1.7 million grant came from last year for the City Corp sewer line. So I try to stay really close with them. I'm real involved with the Municipal League, and I'm on the Health Benefit Fund Board of Trustees. I'm on their Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'm a former member of the Large First Class Cities Advisory Committee. And so I think that, the fact that I'm on all of these boards, it's not just given to you because you happen to be the elected mayor of whatever town. You get invited to them, and I think I've demonstrated an ability to work with them within the group and try to move all of us forward. Let's face it, both ends of the boat go down or up at the same time, and so I think it's critical that we be able to work with Arkansas Tech. I think it's critical that we work with the Highway Department. When I came into office, all I heard was the rumors about how hard both of those entities were to work with. I've never had that problem, and I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but I think if you know people out there and can get a hold of them, I think that they'll verify that.
Mr. Harris, same question for you. How do you feel you'll work with the City Council, the county, and the state to implement your vision?
The City Council is an interesting dynamic because they can make or break a mayor. If you get a dynamic on the council that's tough to deal with and doesn't get along, then it can make a tenure as a mayor very difficult. But if you can get a council that's cohesive and working in unison, then the possibilities are endless. So what I'd like to do is, I mentioned getting together before the beginning of the year to set the goals for 2019 is try to build that consensus. We've got some new people coming on the council. They've been elected. They're excited, ready to serve. Start getting them together and working with them to establish a direction for 2019, so that we can make sure that dynamics is there. It's different working in the political world than it is working in the private sector or in the public sector versus the private sector, because it's in the private sector we do consensus building, in the public sector it's majority rule. But if you can build a consensus, then you can do a lot of good things. So that'd be one thing that I'd want to look at. In my past experience in the private sector, I've worked with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I've worked with the State Department, Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. I've worked with the county officials in developing and implementing emergency planning programs, throughout the state associated with Arkansas Nuclear One. So what I've found over the years is they're good people everywhere. And all you got to do is reach out to them, and most of the time they want to work with you and they want to make sure that you're successful so that they can be successful. So I don't think it's going to be an issue or a problem at all working with anyone in the state level, anyone on the county level, and even the surrounding communities, just reaching out and making sure that we've got alignment and we're working together.
We appreciate everyone who's watching right now. I wanted to say hello to Sandy and Mary and Marcia and Delana and Dylan and Debbie and Sandy and Shauna and everybody else who's watching right now. I want to give these guys just a moment to catch their breath and say hello to everybody who's watching, Clinton, Matthew, everybody who is a part of tonight's broadcast. We'll stick with you, Mr. Harris, and ask this next to last question here. You mentioned the fact that if a city council is maybe a little disagreeable or if there isn't a great dynamic there, that it might be a problem, and obviously there are always going to be disagreements. You're not going to agree on everything, but how will you deal with disagreement and working through those with those around you at every level?
Well, what I think is communication, and making sure that we understand where our positions are, and then see if we can find a common ground. Just like in any consensus building effort, somebody's got to give, somebody's got to take, and you can run an operation with a 5-3 majority, but that doesn't necessarily going to get the best results. So when I look at the council that we have in place that's going to be coming in place in January, I think we've got a group of individuals who really, really want to work together and really, really want to set a strategic plan going forward. So there's going to be that conflict. It's going to be there, and when it does, we'll just have to communicate. We'll have to work together and get through it. But I'm pretty optimistic about the future of Russellville with the council that we've got coming in.
Mayor Horton, same question for you. How do you deal with disagreement?
Well, the communication thing is definitely it, and I think we could help minimize that some more if we expanded our use of the committee system. Most people don't know it. We've got 2 standing committees on the council, one for finance and property and one for personnel matters, and that just doesn't cover everything. And so we have lately been using kind of an expanded use of temporary committees. As you know, we're trying to get an innovation hub launched in our old fire station instead of letting it just rot to the ground. And so we developed as much as we could on that and then turned it over to the council and 2 or 3 interested parties and some representatives for Arkansas Tech. And, you know, it's moving forward. It gives you in the committee system, it's more short sleeve, a lot less formal for whatever reason. And I think Mr. Harris saw enough of this when he was on the council that there's more of a workshop attitude when you're in committee than it is when you're at the council meeting and somebody's going to anticipate a vote right now and it's time to make a decision. And so if we do more of our vetting and prospecting through the committee system, I think that would help out a whole lot. And try to pre-sell an idea before it's time to make a final vote on it.
Final question for both of you, and for those watching, we appreciate you all watching and being a part of tonight's broadcast once again. I tipped the guys off on a couple of the questions that we were going to ask tonight, and this is one of them because I wanted you guys to really think critically and give us some good information about your vision for the future. And so tonight's final question, we'll start with you, Mayor Horton. If elected, when we look back in 10 years, what effects of your tenure would you expect to see and where?
I'd like to see I keep coming back to the economic development thing because it's kind of my forte for one thing, but it's also the well that everything else drinks from. Yes, I want more parks. Yes, I want to upgrade everything we've got. I'm pretty happy with where public safety is right now, both police and fire. We've been able to do some really good things for them over the last couple of years. But you got to have growth to keep supporting that. I'm thrilled. I left a budget meeting. You know, we do these budget meetings every fall, and I left it to come out here for this. And we submitted the best budget we've had in 6 or 7 or 8 years for sure. We're gonna have a respectable surplus even after being able to reward some of our employees a little bit better and get our firemen on par with our policemen and pay and. Things are going pretty well around here. Tax collections are up because there's more people working and they're putting more money. Yes, I know a lot of it's going online, a lot of it's going to Conway, but a lot of it's staying right here too. And so supporting the shop local deal, that's good. But we've got to keep growing. We've got to have some more retail development. And to support that, you got to have more job development, more economic development. Some of that's going to be industry. I think every one of us is concerned about the news coming earlier this year or late last year about it got a little bit more real that at some point in the future that Arkansas Nuclear One will shutter their operation out there. That's a big piece of payroll to replace. What I like about the plan that we've got in development with the Alliance is it's a diverse plan. It looks for, I mean, not everybody's suited to work at a nuclear plant. Not everybody's suited to be a doctor. And so we're trying to recruit jobs for whatever class and then grow our own jobs. You know, 90% of jobs in Arkansas are from what's classified by the Department of Labor as small business. So the Innovation Hub idea is all about encouraging the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and instead of recruiting for other jobs, grow our own jobs. But I'd like to see it spread all over town, and I'd like to see it as diverse as it can be and not get siloed into any one industry that could have the devastating impact on us that closing Arkansas Nuclear One could have if we don't start work on it right now.
Mr. Harris, want to ask you the same question, and Mr. Horton actually hit on this, but we had a submitted question from a viewer that asked about the philosophy on city employee payment. He mentioned he was proud of the fact that the city is planning to pay employees more and taxes are up and those types of things. But if elected, if you can hit on this as well, if elected, when we look back in 10 years, what effects of your tenure would you expect to see and where?
Well, I expect us to be a growing community, growing, thriving community. You know, Russell, as I said all along, Russell's has got some niches. Russell's got the beauty and natural resources in our area. We need to take advantage of those. We need to work toward high-tech jobs. You know, we've got Arkansas Tech, over 10,000 students, putting out engineers, IT specialists, doctors and lawyers, and they're all leaving Russellville. You know, you don't get those type of jobs for those type of individuals by, you know, recruiting the type of, you know, jobs that don't pay the kind of money and use the expertise that you need for those. So we need to use that. We need to utilize that resource to attract businesses and industry to our area. I talked to someone recently, and they said, well, you know, Van Buren is doing the same thing. They want to recruit high-tech jobs. It's pretty competitive. Yeah, it's competitive. Yeah, it's hard. We know it's hard. That's why we've got to start now. We've got to develop a plan where we want to be, what we want to look like, what edge can we put out there that attract those type of industries that allow us to keep those students in Russellville, Arkansas, rather than running off to Dallas or Northwest Arkansas or wherever they're going to get the kind of jobs that they think they deserve based upon their career and education. So what I want to see is for Russellville to be growing in a manner that we can keep those jobs here, that we can keep those students here, and that our economy will continue to thrive. But I also want to make sure that Russellville's growing in a manner in which maintains the value, the core values that we hold dear, you know, within our community, family, our faith. Those things are very important, and we want to make sure that we don't go in a direction where we start losing focus on that for the sake of the almighty dollar.
Gentlemen, we really appreciate the civility and the fact that this has gone well enough that, you know, we've got people who are commenting on here telling us how much they're learning and the things that they're appreciative of. We appreciate your time, and again, being here while you're both under the weather and dealing with the sickness and the illness that's going around at this moment. So we hope everyone has enjoyed this, and we hope you've learned something and that you'll get out and vote. Early voting starts tomorrow, Election Day next Tuesday, the 4th of December. So we appreciate so much everyone watching tonight. If you missed any part of this, as soon as it is finished, the broadcast is finished, it archives on our Facebook Live page, on our Facebook page, and you will be able to go back and watch any part of it that you might have missed. Please share this with your friends. Let everyone know about what is going on here tonight here in the Orr Auto Mall Studios. Thank you to Elite Med, our sponsor for tonight, making this possible. We appreciate them for their support as well. Thank you all for watching tonight. You guys get out and vote. Please make sure your voice is heard. You all have a good evening. Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Thank you.